Once upon a time, two retired teachers decided to convert their garage into a pottery studio. Along with their daughter and son, they built a business around the idea that the world could use a little more art and a lot more artists. We're the Kaya family. Welcome to Wocky Pots. Hi everybody, how you doing? How you been? How are things? Shane and Diana here at Wocky Pot Studio for a very special how-to video. A while back, you guys may remember that we said if we get to 300 subscribers, then we're going to start posting regular how-to videos. Well, this is our very first how-to video. And Diana, what are we going to be making today?
Well, we are going to be making these really fun, funky chickens.
Funky chickens.
Except your chickens won't have big black eyeballs that have nothing.
I'll show you a picture of what we're talking about. This is one of the things that was kind of an unintended surprise.
Yes.
But this is what you're making.
I have the new and improved eyeball.
Yep, and this is the original model. Diana made this earlier, and don't worry, I will get closer pictures
new
so
and
you can
improved. See it. And the cool thing about this is, once you see how they're put together, you can do them any size basically that you want. This one, of course, the first one was much smaller. This one is bigger. All of the different body parts and all can be changed in size or shape a little bit to make them more personalized and more unique.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go over the materials.
Yes.
Don't worry, I will show this in the description of the video. There'll be a better look at the bits and pieces too.
Yes, and of course this is a hand building project, so everything starts as a slab of clay. So of course you're going to need clay. I am using standard 112 clay, which is a cone 5-6 clay, but you could certainly use a low fire clay, a clay that goes even hotter.
You could use air drying clay and then paint it with acrylic paints after that. You just got to make sure you paint the whole thing. Don't leave any exposed clay if you're going to use air hardening clay, and also don't ever try to actually wash it if you're using air hardening clay, because as soon as it comes in contact with moisture, it's done. But you could also scale this down a little bit if you wanted to, and you could make this out of polymer clay that you cure in the oven, right?
Yes, certainly. So basically it's just a fun little project, and it's a great way to do some hand building.
Yep. Okay, well, let's talk about exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, so since it is a hand building project and you need a slab, you need some way to get a slab from that clay.
That's Diana's rolling pin, also known as the husband corrector. That's
and it's a very heavy rolling pin,
It's a big,
too.
giant rolling pin.
So if you happen to have a, what are they called? Roll.
A pasta machine?
Well, I guess that could work, yes. But no, the slab roller. If you have a slab roller, then you can certainly use a slab roller. And if you don't have a slab roller, you can roll it out with a rolling pin. Yes, so that works. But yes, a pasta machine might work too.
Pasta machine might work too.
Who knows? The other thing you need is some tools. You need something to be able to cut the clay with. So you could use a needle tool to cut it with, or you could use a clay knife. That's a couple of the things that you might need. And then when we're putting the clay together, you need some way to score the clay. So you might have a handy dandy scoring tool that has all these little wires at the end. But you could always just use your needle tool
or
to
toothpicks.
Scratch.
You could use toothpicks
to scratch up the surface. And you're going to need some slip, which could be nothing more than water. Could be that you just smoosh everything together depending on the clay that you're using.
So traditionally, slip is a very thin mixture of water and the clay that you're working with. We tend to use vinegar, though, for our slip. And the vinegar we use is white vinegar, but it's not the vinegar that you would use for cooking. It's 30% vinegar that you would get in the garden center.
Yeah. So the other thing that I like to use this little clay shaper tool that it has two different ends.
The ends are very bendy and flexy.
Yes, for the most part, they're like rubber or silicone, probably.
You could use a cat pencil eraser for this also.
The other thing I thought about, you could also use a Q-tip.
Q-tip might work
Yes,
also.
because you just need to be able to go around the pieces that you have attached to smooth out the clay, and that's kind of why I like that. The other thing that you could do is simply use the little brush that you use in your slip. You could get the slip off and then use that brush to go around instead. So always multiple ways to do something. I've made some templates.
I will give pictures of this
Yes.
to you guys.
So that I can remake the same type of thing, even if I do some changes. So you'll need all the different little chicken parts, you know, the comb and the waddle and the beak and the wings and the feet.
I'll show pictures of this, but understand that the reason for having the template pieces, the pattern pieces, is so that you can make the exact same thing over and over. If you're just making it one time and you don't need your next one to be identical, you don't really need the template pieces. But I'm going to make sure that you can see the ones that we're using anyway.
And then if you, like me, like to have lots of different texture in it, you need a way to get texture into your clay. And I use
A variety of
things.
We got
Any
lots
and
of stuff.
everything.
So I'm looking at some of the
Yes.
texture rollers here. Now, Diana, you like these wooden
I
texture
do.
rollers.
Those are actually for clay. They are from MKM, and I do love theirs.
One thing about these is they absorb just a tiny little bit of the moisture, and that's good
Yes.
because it keeps the clay from sticking to it when you
Yes.
roll with it.
And that's one of the reasons I really like those.
You also have a plastic roller.
Yes, and that came from a fondant section, I believe, you know, for making cakes and things.
I imagine the clay has
It's
more
plastic.
difficulty coming loose from this.
It does occasionally. If I'm working with really wet clay or really dry clay, either one, I seem to have no problem. It's when it's in the middle.
What you would call
Yes.
the Goldilocks clay.
Yes.
Then you have to
Yeah.
Mitigate either by letting it dry out a little bit more or maybe sprinkling
Yes.
some cornstarch
Yeah,
on it or
and I
something
have
like that.
done that before. However, I really don't like using the cornstarch.
No, because it dries it out so much.
It really does.
Now, you've got a couple of other texture things
Yes.
too. You've got a little texture mat, and that has texture on both sides. You've
Yeah.
got a pebble pattern on that
And
side.
I think that can
And a
be,
wood
I
pattern.
think that might have been a polymer clay one. It might have been. But you can use polymer clay things
And then you've
too.
got like a silicone rubber stamp thing.
Yes, and I love those. I love being able to smoosh them into the clay. It works so well.
And you've got a vinyl placemat.
Yes, and when you use one of those, you lay it on the clay and then you roll it into the clay. So, but I've even used a crumpled up ball of tin foil before, aluminum foil. What else have I used? String wrapped around. Any and everything.
Anything that has texture is something you could try and see
Yes.
how it goes. Okay.
So,
So these are the materials that we're going to be
yes.
using.
Oh, we forgot. It's also handy to have a bucket of water. I will tell you though, water is your nemesis. You don't want to use water a whole lot because things tend to crack where you've used the water. But for the most part, I like to have a bucket of water near me and a sponge in it. Not necessarily for my piece, but so that I can wipe my board that I'm working on, which is called a wear board, but ours is
It's a hardy backer board.
Yes.
It's the kind of thing that they use as a base for doing like tiles and things
yes,
like that.
and it works really well, and it does absorb some of the moisture. So if things are a little too wet, but I like to wipe off my area because a lot of times when you're joining pieces from the wing to the body or wherever, you get these little extra pieces, and I call them clay boogers. And so a lot of times they get on the stuff down here, and then if you put a piece down on top, it ends up going into the
Then
other
it's a
clay.
flaw, right?
So I try to keep my surface wiped. Now I do use on my edges sometimes, and it's a white mud tool sponge, and the reason I use this one is because the clay that I'm working with has grog in it, and this one does not bring all that grog to the surface and show it, so that it's not as rough. But I'll use this to go around and add just to smooth out the edge. So
You could use a chamois cloth also for the same thing.
yes. So alrighty, now I think that's everything.
All right, so that's our
Maybe.
materials, and other things might pop up, but we'll add it in.
Yes.
Are we ready to move on to the next section?
Yes, let's move on.
We'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back.
Yeah, we are back. And I did forget to mention a while ago, you need a circle.
A circle. You need something for a circle form.
Yes, so I happened to take our little tray from our scale that we weigh out the clay with. And so I'm using that for my circle. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut my circle. I grab the needle tool, so that's what I'm going to use. And when I use the needle tool, I make sure that it is standing up nice and straight, and I try to keep it as
perpendicular
to the circle. Yeah, so that it's not angled, but just a nice even cut all the way around. Alrighty, and then this circle is going to become the body of the chicken. So one of the things that you can do is you can play around with how tall you want your chicken to be, how fat you want your chicken to be. Basically, what I did this morning was I just cut my circle in half. And yes, I could have used a straight edge, but that looks like a straight line to me. Yes. So, and the cool thing about this is, if you like making one, you might as well make two. Or if you have a friend, see, you're my friend.
Yay.
You can have your friend make one with you at the same time. Now, the clay is a little bit thick right now, but it's not going to stay this thick because we have to roll the texture in. And so that's a good, this is a good place to do that. And as you can see, Shane has already started rubbing down his edges, because the smoother we make this now, the easier it is in the long run, because things get very sharp after they get bisqued. So you want to have things as smooth as they can be and as rounded as they can be. So always being mindful of that. Okay. Now, the thing we have to do is we have to decide, what texture do you want for your body?
I want to do the same one you do.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, I'm going to change it up from what I did earlier. I'm going to do circles.
And hip.
Okay, so I'm just going to take and I'm going to roll. Now, I'm rolling kind of heavy on this side because I really want that texture to show. Okay, you can do yours. And it really does thin out the clay. And it's okay if the circle distorts, it's all right. If you want it to be perfect, you go back and you get it to go back again. Alrighty, so now what we do is we are going to take our edge, and if you stand it up kind of like this on its circle end, you can see where it's going to go together to become that circle. Okay, very good. So some of you, depending on the clay you're working with, this would be a time where you could just smush your clay together and it's going to stick. A lot of times if clay is the same wetness anyway, that works just fine. However, for safe measure, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score. Now, I could have taken and I could have done a 45 angle and all of that and gotten fancy with it, but you know what? This is a chicken. And it's going to be just fine. So, okay, so you're smoothing yours out.
Just a little.
Yep, and that's fine, because that's the great thing. Everybody will make their chicken, and everybody's chicken is going to end up different no matter what. So, but as you can see, I have gone ahead and I have really scored that edge so that I have messed it up really good. And then I'm going to dip into my vinegar, which I'm using as slip, and I'm just going to go down one of the edges with that. Really, it's the same piece of clay. It's going to stick to itself.
You could probably get away without using any slip at all, but just to be safe.
Yes. Now this is the part, I'm going to turn this around so that you can see it better. Because you know, I did not do that 45. I'm actually turning this into itself. And then up near the point, I will actually smear it over. And then I just kind of press it together. And then when I get it standing up, I'll go ahead and I'll smooth that edge over. Sometimes you can roll the edge up. But in this case for the chicken, I generally just, we've got extra little bit of clay. And so I just smooth that extra bit over. The tail is going to be here anyway. So a lot of this will not be visible. However, if you want to, you can always go back and take your roller, and just where you've done that, you can gently roll right up and get some of that pattern to come back in that area. Okay? However, you might also like the way that looks and want it to show. So it depends. Now on the inside, you'll notice that we have that overlap on that inside too. So I'll take my finger and I'll smooth from the side that has it protruding over top of the side that doesn't. Yep. And you took a nice little tongue depressor.
One of my favorite tools here in the studio.
Yes.
This is not actually a popsicle stick, although popsicle sticks works just fine. Tongue depressors have a more rounded edge, and the rounded edge makes it ideal for tasks like this.
Yeah. You could also use your rib to go in and smooth, but just as long as that seam is together, that's what's important, because we don't want our chicken coming apart. And then I just kind of, I give a little tap to make sure my chicken body is sitting down on the bat, and it is. Now I have mine positioned so his back end is towards me, and of course I've got that point. Now at this point in time, oh look at that, that looks lovely. Mm-hmm. At this point in time, I'm going to actually go and I'm just going to take my finger and tap that point on that cone and get it more rounded instead of so pointy, because that'll help him to have more of that chicken head. You know, I got to have a nice place to attach his comb. And later I might even make that a little bit flatter. Who knows? We'll see as we go. Alrighty then. So one chicken body. Now, this next part, it's generally a good idea to go ahead and get all of your chicken body parts cut out. Sounds like we're making food now instead of
chicken parts.
chicken parts, yes. But anyway, so
we are using boneless chicken.
Yes. So the clay that we have left from our body that we made should be probably all that we need to make most of our parts.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty. So one of the things you might want to check is if you have, and I know like on this one piece of clay, you can see it's kind of a little bit too thick. So you might need to get that back down. I rolled ours out on the slab roller, and our slab roller is in need of some new boards. Is that right?
The new shims, right?
New shims.
They're pretty worn out.
And so the center of ours ends up getting quite a bit of sorry for that, of thickness in the middle. And so a lot of times I'll take my rolling pin or just a rib and thin it out. But again, we're going to put some more texture. Alrighty, so this is the fun part. So the order that I did mine in, I actually did the tail, and then I did the wings.
Okay.
Then I did the head, and last I did the feet. So I'm going to go ahead. Now, one of the things you'll notice from the early chicken, his tail was very short to his body. The one I did this morning has a very luxurious tail.
This guy's more of a rooster.
Yeah, but he's got a hen comb, so
well,
you know, he's funky, but that's okay. So actually, when I put this tail part down, I may actually just shorten it a little bit this time, so that'll be good. So we're going to go ahead and get our parts laid out, pick our textures for our parts, roll the textures on, and then be ready.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that, and we'll be back in a second, guys.
All right, folks. We have laid out our templates onto the clay, and I'm going to show you on the tail one what I did. And we've already gone and prepared the other pieces so that we have those ready. So whatever texture you've chosen to find, it works best generally if you put that texture on first. You don't have to, and if you like the uneven edges more, then you could do the texture afterwards. You saw us roll with the wooden one for the body. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this one. This is just a little silicone stamp that you can get for doing cards and things with, but it does work great for the clay. So I basically put it on. You could roll it, but I find that it works really well just by pushing it into the clay. And I push it around. Some sections might end up being more indented than others, but the great thing about this is it comes off so easy. And depending on what you pick out, you can lay it down anywhere and get it to match, because after all, this is a vine pattern, so it just looks fine. But I would lay the template on. Now, if you notice mine's not quite fitting, it's no big deal. I'll go ahead and use the clay knife for this one. The part that I'm going to be most concerned about is the part that is like a semicircle. So I'm going to cut that part out first.
Watch your fingers.
Yeah. And then after I have it out, I'll go ahead and move it up. That's why I said you can really change the size of the pieces and make them any size that you want. And of course, when you work with the clay, you'll smooth it how you want it to be anyway. Now, I will say that for the body part, where I attach this to the thing, both sides of the tail are going to be visible. So it is nice to put texture into both sides. Now, if you were doing it with the rolling pin, you would want to put a lot of force down on one side because a lot of that's going to disappear. If you're using one of these silicone stamps, you just go ahead and repeat the process. Some on the other side will get flattened, and if you have to go back and press it in a couple spots, you can. But it's okay, and besides, you get to decide which is the inside and which is the outside, and needs a little bit more there. That's why I kind of like these. I think they're really cool about that. But you'll notice, see how the texture's still there? It's been pressed in a little bit. So I'll stick it back in a couple spots. But I'm happy with that. Alrighty, so now we have our body and we have our tail. I see you've done my beak for me, so I'll take my beak over here and my eyes.
You can have both of the eyes.
Okay.
I have
Alrighty.
4 altogether. Now, this one's a little weird, but I think I can smooth it out.
Oh, it'll be fine. That's the great thing. These things are so forgiving. Alrighty. So what you want to do with your chicken tail, could be a hen tail or it could be a rooster tail, and like you were saying earlier, that seems to be more of a rooster sized tail.
A little roosterish.
Yeah, a little bit roosterish. Yeah, if that's a word.
Is now.
But basically, I'm going to lay this down where it's going to touch on here, and I'm going to decide how much of a tilt I want, and that's why every one of these can be slightly different. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to score it and then slip it and attach it just like we did last time.
Do we need to mark where it's going to go?
You can do that now, or one of the things that I sometimes do is I will score this part and I will put my slip on, and then I'll touch it where it's going to go.
And that kind of leaves a
little bit of a wetness, yeah, to it. And I think I want that there. So then I pick it up and there's just a little bit of visible line from where it was. And then I can just follow that around.
Well, I'm going to draw it out with the needle tool.
Yeah, because there's always more than one way to do something.
So that marks the arc.
Yes. Yep.
Of mine.
Right.
And then I'll score.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you do score both pieces, the tail and the body. And then I'm going to actually pick it up in my hand, and I'm going to take that tail and give it a little wiggle as I'm pressing against the body to make sure it actually grabs that clay that's underneath of there. And I can just manipulate it a little bit more, shape it a little more. I'm going to use my little color shaper and go in and just smooth where they touch. On the first one that I did not use any additional clay when I joined them. On this guy, you'll notice I had rolled a little piece of clay and put in there just for a little extra support. It just depends on how it seems to be going. I know a lot of times you will actually prop something with paper towels.
That's right, yep.
And that
just to hold
it in place until it's dried, because once it's dried, then it certainly has a little bit more support. Because after all, this is sticking off the side. But I don't, unless mine falls off, or appears it's going to fall off, I think it's there. So,
mine is a little loose.
Is it a little loose? So you might need to use a little bit of clay.
Yeah, could I have a little bit of clay?
Here you go.
That'll work.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a snake of clay around the top, and I may do that in the bottom as well.
Yeah.
Just making a
little coil. Yeah, and that does give more support, and that's what I did to the one I made this morning.
And then I'll use my fingers or a shaper tool or a tongue depressor.
Yeah. To smooth it in. And while you're doing that, I'm just kind of checking edges and things and cleaning up just a little bit, because always good to make sure we don't have those clay boogers.
So I'm using the tongue depressor to kind of push it in, and then I'm just going to use my fingers mostly to smooth it.
Yeah.
And I do think I need to probably hold it in my hand.
Yeah. And the thing about the cone shape, you know, we don't have to worry about it being a perfect circle on the bottom, you know. So if we distort it a little bit and it changes shape a little bit in the kiln, it's no biggie. It'll just add to its charm.
It does not have to be perfect.
No, and if it was a drinking mug, no, I don't want it to be as wonky, but...
Right, we're not going to be doing anything with the chickens except looking at them.
That's right. They're going to be happy little chickens.
I would like that color shaper, please.
Alrighty.
Color shaper.
Yep. I'm going to grab my wings, and I'm just going to clean up the edges on my wings while you're finishing your coil. So I'm just going around with my finger on the edge and just at an angle going around the edge of the wing. And then I'll go ahead and just smooth it all the way around again. And of course, yep, I'm getting lots of boogers. I'll wipe them to the side so they don't end up getting in and showing where I don't want them to show. Oh, looks good. How's your coil?
Good.
Awesome.
I was considering going under, but I don't know that I have to.
Alrighty. And sometimes you just need one to fill an area too. Yeah.
Okay, so you're on to the wings?
Yep, I'm just smoothing my wings right now and getting any of the little sniggly bits off.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. And if you notice, they're pretty much a teardrop shape, but I do have a little bit of a tilt to one of that. And so you could either have the tilt going down or you could have the tilt going up, depending on what you want. I think on my other one this morning I might have had the tilt going up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to score both of my wings so that I'll be ready to place them.
And I'm just doing very lightly testing the fit on mine. I'll score them next and then put them on. And again, I'm going to lightly outline where they're going to go with the needle tool, and that'll give me an idea of where I need to score on the chicken.
Yeah, you're so much more precise than I am.
Tentative is what I am. Tentative.
Yes, because you don't hand build as much.
Not as much.
No, as I do. So I just I lay that on and I'm like, okay, I'm going with it. So, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to lay mine down where it's going to go. I'll pick it up and I can see the wetness. The camera might not be showing the wetness, but I can see that wetness. So I'll just go around where that wetness was. And this time I'm scoring with the needle tool because like I said, you can use anything really to score. Use what you have. And that's fine. Because the thing is, if the clay is messed up, we'll get a good join. Alright, so I'm going to put mine back on. And just a gentle rolling press. And then I'll go on the inside, hold it, and give it another little press. And then this is another good time to go around, and I can take the edge of this and just seal just by running it along the edge. Okay, so that one's on. So now I'm ready. Oh, look, you're ahead of me.
How'd that happen?
Must have been I'm going to mark them first.
I don't know.
Alrighty. already then?
I was just thinking it'd be easier to push on both sides at the same time. So that's
okay.
I probably lost a little bit of my texture, but that'll be
That's
right.
okay. You know what? You can always take, because yours is the leaf one. That's what I used on my tail. You can always go and press that in later. That's why I love those silicone stamps for that reason. So, it's really fun. So, which you've been throwing on the wheel already today while I was making my other chicken earlier.
Yeah, trying to figure out if I'm going to like that white Iceman clay.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Yes. We shall see.
Tune in for our coffee time and I'll tell you guys
Yes.
all about it.
And show you some of the things that came about.
Give it a couple days and I'll know enough.
Yeah. So I, again, am just squishing this one a little bit. Now when I say squishing, I'm not pushing and pinching so hard that I'm really distorting the clay. I'm just enough that it is staying. And then I think this time I'm just going to use, because you're using the color shaper, so I'm going to use the brush. So I get off some of the slip and I just use the brush to go around and smooth so that I seal those edges. Oh, I think I'm going to love this one. This one, guys, I actually, that's the thing about these. No two will ever be the same, even using those templates, because your placement's going to be different. And I have to tell you, this one is going to be turned and facing this way a little more, because unlike you checking your placement and all, I just slap mine on and they're a little off center, but it works. Okay. Well, it's cute. Look at that.
Yep.
It's so cute. I like it like that on purpose. I'll have to do that from now on. Yeah, I like that. Very cute. Alrighty, so you've got your wings on.
They seem to be firmly attached.
Yes. So we have two wings on. We have one tail on. Now we're going to move on up to the head. And for the head, you can either put the comb on first or the beak on first. I'm going to do the beak first. Now, when you cut this out, depending on what you used, you might have some really messed up edges. And I honestly take some time to just go in and work that beak until I like it.
Okay, so this is my beak. I'll do the same thing.
And, you know, chickens' beaks are a little curved at the end. So I'm making mine just a slight bit more curved just by rubbing on it. You can also split the beak, so it's an open beak at that time, you know. So the first one I did had the split beak, and if I was going to do a split beak, I'd go ahead and just use my needle tool and go in and cut it right there. I think this one I'm just going to leave intact. But once I've done that, I go ahead, I score where it's going to attach to the head.
I'm watching you because I'm not positive of the orientation of our beak.
And then I leave the little hump up a bit, and I go down from it, about a pinky.
Okay.
And that's where it's going to be. So, all right, I shall mark mine this time. How's that? I'm marking it.
So, is this correct?
Yeah, that looks good to me. And then I need to score here where it's going to go onto the body. There we go. Oops, I'm making sound effects.
That's okay. Sometimes sound effects are necessary.
That's pretty much our day in here. Either you're making sound effects or...
It does not always work better with sound effects, but it never works worse with sound effects.
I'm making. And when you put your slip on, you can either put the slip on the body or you can put it on the beak. Depending on what you're using, some people, you know, if they're using the clay and the water, they'll put it on both pieces. Where we're using the vinegar, we pretty much just put it on the one and then attach it to the other.
There is a school of thought that says you should add the vinegar to whichever piece you think is the driest.
Right.
That is valid also.
So, what did I put it on? Oh, I put it on the beak. So, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It feels the same, y'all, right now. It's been so soon. Nothing has really been sitting out. So.
Everything is of similar.
Yes. And one of the things that I do after I've got my beak on is I put my thumb up in the little hollow section and then I smooth out that top. It kind of just helps hold it in place to have your thumb under there. And I always give a little wiggle because then I make sure that it's where it's supposed to go. Now, my comb is actually that of a hen. It's a little short comb. So if you really wanted it to be a rooster, you could just take this and make the little loopy loops taller. Or you can make little pointy ones going every which direction, and that would be fun too. I think that would be really fun. I might have to do a little funky chicken that's a rooster instead of a hen. But, and not only that, depending on, I guess maybe if you put the wider part at the front, it might appear more like a rooster. And because I'm going to be putting my wider part at the back, it's more like a hen. And you'll notice when you first get ready to do this, it might not sit exactly so, but once you start working, and I'm not really trying to break it, I am just kind of gently, do you see what I'm doing? I'm just gently pulling it a little, and before you know it, it fits.
Yep, okay. Well, I'll get ready to put mine on.
So, and again, you can see where it's going to go. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up, score my head, and I bring it right down to where the beak is. I remember when we had hens that's where I would notice their comb began. So, not that this chicken is a real life-looking chicken.
We're not going for anatomical realism.
But that's okay. I just like the way it looks. So I'll do that. And then when I put that on again, just a little shake and a little slidey slide.
Looks like a little Elvis Pompadour.
It does, doesn't it? Oh, it is so cute.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, well, no, you don't. Let's get you back on that side. There we go. I had it tilting just a little too much. There we go. That's better. And then I'll use this. Go around. Make sure it's fitting. I like the round end better than that other end, but I had the wrong one when I started. Here we go. Clean up that area a little bit by the beak too. Smooth it out. Here we go. And he's fitting. That seems to be fitting nicely now. Is yours fitting?
I think so. Oops, I just knocked his beak off.
Oh. All right. Oh, yeah. And see, that's the great thing. Everybody's looks different.
I put mine on.
Yes, and I love it. Way. Well, and I really think he looks more roostery now.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, see? Same little template. You flipped him around and raised him up more. Oh, I like it. Oh, it is so cute.
All right.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
I do. I love it. Alrighty. So now we're on to the eyes. Last time I made this, I rolled a ball in my hand, cut half of it off, used half on one side and half on the other.
He's a little bug-eyed.
It looked better before it got done, and I forgot to do anything other than black. This time I've gone with a flat circle.
Like a disc.
Yes, like a disc. And I did look at some chicken eye pictures, and they do have a pupil with color around their eyes, depending on the breed of chicken it is.
Okay.
So I forget which one I was looking at. It might have been a cinnamon or a red star, but they had little amber eyes, our irises around there. The colored part is the iris, right?
Yes.
Yes, and then the pupil is the black part. So what I like to do before I put my eye on, I take the end of one of the tools. I'm going to use the end of this paintbrush. And I'm just going to, well, first of all, I got to make sure it's smooth. There we go. It's smooth now. I'm going to put where the pupil is. I'm just going to dent it in with the end of the paintbrush. Just a little bit. And then that way, hopefully, it'll remind me when I go to glaze these.
Yeah, don't glaze it all black.
All black, right. So I'm going to do both of them. And then I will put both of them on. So, yes. So, and it definitely does make sense to get these as smooth as you can now because they're small. Although they are kind of big because I do like the big eyes. You know, it's just... And I think that's why I had gone with a little bug-eyed because I thought it would be so cute, but it would have been nice if I had thought to do an eyelash, you know, an eyelid, something there. And I considered eyelids today, but then I changed my mind at the last minute. But you know what? Maybe there will be an eyelid on another chicken later. Boop. There we go. Got them in. And it's okay if the eyes don't match. Exactly.
You aren't going to be seeing them at the same time.
No. And then think about your placement of where you want your eyes to go. And of course, that's, oh, that's cute. Look. Mm-hmm. So I do, you know, most of the time the eyes, you know, on a chicken are placed so that they're part way where the beak is and part way back. So I like that. That works. And, you know, I'm just going for it. There we go. It's going to sit there. And it's going to sit there. And then if they're a little wonky, it's okay. It just adds character. Great thing with the eyes is when I put them on, I just give them a little rotation until they stop rotating, and it's like, oh, that's where you want to be. Okay. Rotation. Oh, I like you, chicken. You're really cute.
Don't get too attached to him. We're probably going to end up selling him.
I know, but I like him. I like him a lot better than this one.
Hey, be nice to that guy. He was a prototype.
Oh, you know what we've not put? We have not put on our waddle.
Yep, we got to do that.
Now, it might seem strange because the waddle looks like this big, round, it's an inch circle, guys. But what I do with that is I just take it and I cut it in half. And then, so I cut it in half. And then I just kind of flatten one of the ends that's pointed so that it's not sharp, and the other one I elongate a little bit more so it also comes almost like a half of a teardrop.
All right.
Or think half of a heart. There we go. Yeah. Oh, he's so cute. I don't even want them on him. And you know, your waddles can be tiny. They can be big. Some breeds of chicken, it's really hard to spot them at all. And they are on the hens and on the roosters. And of course, roosters generally have bigger ones. But I may actually end up cutting mine down just a bit. So, because I kind of did put my wings a little bit forward this time, and I really like that. But guess what? They're in the way of my waddles.
Oh well.
Oh well is right. That's okay. It will work. And that's why I said every chicken is going to end up looking different anyway. And basically with the waddles, the placement of those is you just put them up beside the beak into place. There we go. Oh, that's going to be so cute. And like one of mine, I want shorter than the other. I don't know why, but I do. So guess what? One side's going to be shorter than the other. We had one time that had one that was really big on one side and short on the other. I don't know if it was supposed to be that way, but
I don't know.
It was that way. So.
And guys, don't worry. We will show pictures of all this stuff
Yes.
Finished, so you can
Yes.
get an idea for the placement and how we did things.
Right. But don't feel like you have to do that, because you might like your chicken placed a slight bit differently. And that's okay. Oh yes, that's so cute. Here we go. And now I'll get the other side. That is so cute. Yes, it reminds me of that one chicken. She had such a good personality too. But she was a little weird looking. I do miss our chickens, but I don't miss taking care of them. It's a lot more work than what people know sometimes. And when the kids were younger, it was a good thing. Oh yeah, see, my tail wants to come off now. The weight has started to pull it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to go and I'm going to put a coil just underneath of mine. Just a quick little coil. And it's just because of the weight. If it wasn't off at an angle, it would have stayed just perfectly. Maybe. Never know. There we go. So. Feel like a veterinarian giving an exam. I think I have all the tools over here. I'm hogging them like I do the paper towels.
Yep, that's okay.
Well, I love him. He's so cute. Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Definitely has character. I love it. Get in there. And right now all I'm doing is I am just smoothing that coil over so that there's a little bit more clay under this chicken. get the words out in a minute. Sometimes I know what I'm thinking, but it never comes out the rest of the way. I do that a lot. Go. Alrighty. There. And now I'll go back and just check up here again. Oh, that looks much better. All right. There we go. Clean up around that eye for a second. I had another little boogie. There we go. All right. Ta-da. Okay.
How are we doing?
We're doing good. We don't have feet.
Uh-oh.
But you know what?
Here's a feet.
My first one didn't have feet at all.
Well, you have
They were sitting
you
on
have
the
two
feet.
feet there.
Yes, and I have 2 feet here.
Okay.
I made 2 for you and 2 for me, and then the one I did earlier today, and I thought, well, maybe the chicken is reclined and it's got its feet up in the air. So we'll make some happy little reclined chickens. And the other cool thing I thought about was I thought you could actually put something on the inside, like a little bar going across in the center, and then take fabric and attach it to the clay and have them hanging down.
That'd
So
be
like,
fun.
you know, like a little shelf sitter type thing. That would be cute. I'm just kind of tapping the ends of the toes now because when I cut them out, I cut them and they were a little tiny sharp. So I'm just tapping them.
Well, and they've started to dry a little bit too,
yes,
so they're
just a
fragile.
little bit. Yeah. Sometimes whacking on clay wakes it back up. So, yeah. Alrighty, but they're still fine to work with. But I definitely think I will be putting the vinegar on the feet. Yes. So, score, score, score. Yeah. And I'm an aggressive scorer.
My feet are too large for the placement of my... I'm going to cut some more.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. All right. I didn't even check mine. That's so cute. I got to cut some off of mine too. Boop. And boop. I think that's got it. That should be cute. There we go. And you know, I'm going to actually kind of curve my, because their little toes are kind of curled out and stuff. They're not so precise. There we go. Oh, that's going to be cute. I like that. There we go. That's cute. Okay. Okay, scoring where it's going to go. Back to the vinegar. Whoops, I said on the thing, on the foot. That's what that part's called, a foot. Okay, there it is. And place that on. There we go. I feel like this chicken's like, I've had a long day. It's time to take a break. And just prop my feet up. There we go. That's so cute. Okay. Alrighty, you want to turn yours around when you're done with your feet? Let's see what we got. Oh. Okay. They're so cute. Here, I'm going to clean this board off. chickens that are chickens side by
Sure,
side.
and we will, guys, don't forget, we will be showing pictures of these too, so
Yes.
you'll be able to see the details of where we put things.
Look at them.
And the next time you guys see these, they will be glazed, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
it's going to take several days to a week for them to dry like this. Then they'll go in a bisque fire to be bisqued. Then we'll glaze it.
Right. And with all the textures on it, I want to use glazes that will show off the texture well. So Amico Celadons would look really good. A lot of the Potter's Choice shows some good texture. A lot of Mako's will show some good texture. So I'll just make sure I use some. And also, I plan on doing like each texture will probably have a different color.
Yep.
You know, so that lots and lots and lots of colors.
Well, let's change the camera back to where
Yes.
people can see, and then we can
Sure.
talk about them. Guys, we'll be back in 1 sec.
Well, hon, what did you think?
All right, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making these chickens. So now we've got a trio of chickens. One you made earlier
Yes.
today, and then the two we made just now.
Yes.
And then the other one that you made before that we could still fix his eyes somehow.
Yeah, he's just kind of a pity chicken.
That's okay. So this technique can be changed a little bit. You can make the chicken taller or
Right.
or whatever. Please do feel free to change up the proportions. And if you had like a grouping of these together, you would kind of want them to be different sizes,
Right, you
different
would want
shapes.
one to be slightly taller and maybe one to be slightly smaller. So, but if it's a half circle, that's that size of circle. This is what you end up with. If your circle was smaller, your chicken's going to naturally be smaller. And if you'd used a big mixing bowl, then you could get a pretty sizable chicken too. So.
Yep. Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining us for our very first how-to video, our celebration of 300 subscribers.
Yes.
I don't know what our next how-to video will be. I'm not even sure when it'll be. But now that we've gotten started with these, do look forward to seeing them every once in a while on our channel.
And it was all new today, guys.
This is brand new.
For doing this. So just like everything else, I'm sure we'll figure out the best ways to show pieces and things like that.
We'll refine our technique. Later on today, we will be doing a kiln opening because we do have a kiln load of glazeware that's almost cool enough for us to open. And then our normal coffee time will be happening a couple days after that. And it's going to be a busy rest of the week, I think.
Yes, it will be. And also, folks that have joined us today, if you haven't already told us where you're from in the world, please leave your name and your location, just a general location.
So we can stick a pin in the map.
We'd like to stick a pin in our world map for you. It's a fun thing for us.
Yep. All right, are we all set?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and sign it out then. All right, everybody, thanks again. Toodaloo, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Take care, see you later. Have a fantastic day, no matter where you're at. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.